Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sabrina and I'm back with another Excel tutorial. Now, if this is your first time here and you're looking to develop your Excel skills, then start now by subscribing and hitting that bell icon so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can copy and drag formulas along with other examples using something called the fill handle. So on my spreadsheet here, I've basically created a very short table of student results. Okay, so on the left there, you can see student A, student B, student C, and so on. And then in each column, you can see their test scores for test 1, test 2, and then test 3. So I now want to, in column E, I just basically want to add up their test scores for all 3 tests, okay, which I can do with an AutoSum formula. Now, I did do a video on AutoSum, which you can access from the link above. Okay, so to enter the AutoSum formula, you would select the first cell, type equal, and then type the sum function. And then you would type open bracket and select the first value that you want to add. Okay, so that would be this cell here. So I'm just going to select the cell, and that would input the cell reference number in the formula. And then I'm just going to click and hold that cell and then drag my mouse across to the rest of the 2 cells on the right, which will then enter the cell range. So this basically now is saying sum up the values from B4 all the way to cell D4. Okay, now you would then press the close bracket key and press enter on your keyboard. And that will then return the result, which will be the sum of all 3 test scores. Okay. Now, I've got 4 more students to do, right? Now, I could manually enter in the AutoSum formula 4 times, or what I could do is I could copy and drag that formula down, which would be much quicker than entering it manually. So to do that, to copy and drag the formula down, you would select the first cell with the formula in it. You would then go over to the fill handle, which is basically a little small green square in the bottom right-hand corner of your selected cell. So if you hover your mouse over that green square, you'll see a black cross. Okay, so when you see the black cross, now there's 2 things you can do. You can either double click into it, and that will copy and drag the formula all the way down to the rest of the cells, like so. Okay, so it's done it for me. Now, if I click into the second cell, you can see up in the formula bar, okay, it's entered the formula in for me automatically. So it's copied the formula. But also one very important thing to note here is that it's changed the cell range as well, okay, based on the cell selected. So that first cell there was the cell range was B4 to D4. But if you select the second cell, you can see that the cell range has moved 1 row down. So it's now B5 to D5. So the formula recognizes that the values will of course change as you copy the formula down. Okay, and that's called relative referencing, which I'll do a separate video on later. And I'll explain the difference between relative and absolute references. Okay, so that's how you can copy and drag the formula down. Now, I showed you simply double clicking into the fill handle. There is another way of doing it, so I'm just going to delete the rest of the formulas here. So to delete the formula, you just highlight the cells with the formula, and then you can just press delete on your keyboard. Okay. Now, the other way of doing it is if you just select the first cell again with the formula, hover your mouse over the fill handle again. Now, instead of double clicking, the other thing I could do is I could press and hold the mouse and then just drag my mouse down, okay? and that will also copy and drag the formula down for me. So once you've finished selecting the rest of the cells, you would release your mouse and that will do exactly the same thing. It will copy and drag the formula down for you. Okay. Okay, so that's how you copy and drag formulas. Now, I'm going to go through some more examples of how you can copy and drag certain numbers. So let's have a look at this example here, serial numbers. So how can you copy down serial numbers? So I've got 3 examples here. Okay, so 1 and 2. Now with serial numbers, Excel uses AutoFill to work out a pattern that you're trying to input, and then automatically fills the rest of the cells based on the pattern identified. Now, in order for Excel to identify the pattern that you're trying to establish, you need to enter the first 2 values of that pattern. So for example, I've put number 1 and number 2 there. So what you would do is you would select both cells. You would then go over to the fill handle, hover your mouse over the fill handle, and then when you see the black cross, okay, you can then click and hold your mouse and drag it down. So as you drag it down, you can see just towards the right of the black cross, it shows me the next serial numbers. Okay, so I can now see that it's going to enter in the right serial numbers. So once you've finished selecting your cells, you would then release your mouse and that will enter the rest of the serial numbers for you in the rest of the cells. Okay, the same applies with multiples. So again, like I said, Excel uses the autofill functionality. So you need to enter in the first 2 values in order for Excel to work out the pattern that you're trying to establish. So this one is multiples of 2. So you would enter in the first 2, okay, so which is 2 and 4. And then you would select the first 2 values, then go over to your fill handle, hover your mouse over the fill handle, and again, do exactly the same. Press and hold your mouse, okay, and then drag your mouse down. And you'll see that as I drag my mouse down, I can see the next values appearing towards the right of the black cross, okay, so that's 8, 10, 12, so it's going up in 2s. Okay, and there you go. So the rest of the cells have now been filled in, and they're all multiples of 2. Okay, and the next one is 5. So again, multiples of 5, so you would enter the first 2, which is 5 and 10, highlight the first 2, just do exactly the same thing. Now, okay, and there you go. So it's filled in the rest of the cells with the 5 times table. Okay, so that's serial numbers copying down, but you can also do serials numbers and copy across the worksheet. So I've used the same examples here. Okay, so 1 and 2, but you can select the first 2 values like so, and then hover your mouse over the fill handle in the bottom right hand corner of the last cell, and then press and hold your mouse and drag your mouse across this time. So as I drag it across, you can see that my values are appearing just underneath there. So I can see number 5, number 6. So it gives me a preview of which value will be entered in those cells. Okay, and then once you've finished highlighting your cells, you just release your mouse again. And there you go. So you can copy or autofill your serial numbers across as well, like so. So I'm just going to do the same with the multiples of 2. Okay, and the same with multiples of 5. So select the first 2. There you go. Okay. All right, now let's look at the next example, which is weekdays. So you can do exactly the same with weekdays as well. So let's start off with Monday, right? Now, if I hover my mouse over the fill handle and then just press and hold my mouse and drag my mouse down now, can you see it's now autofilling the rest of the weekdays for me, which is perfect. Okay, so I don't have to type them all out manually. Okay, so that's weekdays. You could also do months. So if I type January, okay, and again, now in this scenario, I don't have to type in the first two. The first one will work, okay, because of course weekdays and months are common knowledge. They're common patterns basically, so you don't need to enter in the first two values or text in order for Excel to work out the pattern you're trying to establish. Excel will already know what you're trying to do here. So the first value or the first text will be sufficient to work out the pattern. So you just hover your mouse over the fill handle and just drag your mouse down. Okay, and there you go. You can see that as I drag my mouse down, the rest of the months are appearing as previews. Okay, and there you go. It saves up a lot of time, especially because, you know, you don't have to manually enter in these months now. Okay, let's look at the next example. So same applies with years. Okay, so again, you would type in, so if I type in, for example, let's do 2020. Okay, so in this situation for the years, you will need to enter in a second and a third value in order for Excel to work out what you're trying to do here and what is the pattern you're trying to establish. So I'm just going to put 2021 and I'll also put 2022. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight all three cells and then go over to my fill handle, press and hold my mouse, and then drag my mouse down, and then hopefully that should pick up that I'm trying to enter in the years. So if I go and drag this mouse down, there you go, you can see now towards the right, it's showing me a preview of the rest of the year. So 2024, 2025, and then I can just go down as far as I want. Okay. So yeah, you can do years as well, but with some data, you may need to fill in, you know, the first two or maybe the first three entries in order for Excel to work out the pattern that you're trying to establish. And then the last example I've got there is date and time. So you can actually autofill date as well. So if I just type in today's date, okay. Now, if I just go over to my fill handle and drag my mouse down, okay, you can see that it's filling in the rest of the dates for me as well. So that's 11th of Jan, which is today. That's 12th of Jan, 13, 14, 15, and so on, okay? And the same applies with time. So if I typed in, for example, 8:00 and then enter a space and type AM, when you type that in, okay, and if you use the fill handle and drag that fill handle down, what you'll see is that the next one it will enter is 9 a.m., then 10 a.m. So it increments in 1 hour by 1 hour. And that's what it does by default. Okay, now that might work well for you. If there were specific increments that you wanted to do, so maybe you want to display every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes and enter the time in that way. So say, for example, we started off with 8 a.m., but we have to then enter in the next value in order for Excel to work out the pattern again, or, you know, the minutes that you want to increment by. So let's do 8:05 a.m. Okay, and you do need to remember to put a space and then type the AM or PM, okay? Otherwise it won't pick it up. So now that I've put 8:05, if I highlight both cells and go over to my fill handle and drag my mouse down, you'll see that it's now incrementing by five minutes, okay? So now it's 8:15, 8:20, 8:25, 8:30. Okay, so you can actually dictate, you know, the time increments there as well. Alternatively, if it was every 10 minutes, you would do the first two values first. So you're starting the pattern there. So 8:10 a.m. Okay, highlight the first two values, and then you can just drag it down. So 8:20, 8:30, 8:40, 8:50, 9 o'clock. Okay, so that's incrementing by 10 minutes. Okay, so you can do that with date and with time. You just need to work out whether Excel will be able to identify the pattern that you're trying to establish. If not, then you may need to enter in the first two, or maybe sometimes the first three values, so that Excel can identify it. Okay, so I hope that's helped. If it has helped, please do like and share the video so that it can reach out to more people. And do consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Okay, guys, so thank you again for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.